We are live.
Okay. Okay. Respected, Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Welcome to this webinar on e-learning, a new reality. And thank you very, very much for joining us this evening in this webinar. For the next 1 hour or so, we'll be sharing our views on the new reality, specifically focusing on e-learning. I don't have to tell you that e-learning is replacing classroom training with online experiences and combining different virtual media to reinforce the interaction and direct contact with other participants in a course, which provide, I believe, a meaningful and motivating learning through different online teaching strategies. Strategies could be webinar, social networking, blog and vlog forums, video presentations, live chats, virtual gamification, etc., etc. There are many more are coming up. And enormous growth of e-learning we have experienced during this COVID-19 period. This is remarkable and significant. Cost efficiency, made-to-order learning 24/7, superior learning capabilities that involves retention in a risk-free, reliable, and interactive environment are strong reasons, I believe, to adopt online methods. Those has surfaced. It also assures flexibility of time and space, gives learners the latitude to choose from wide range of available courses, and creates access. And interestingly, it also collapses walls of social inequality among learners. Dear viewers, I am Noor Ilahi Ali Shibly. You can see NEA Shibly over there, doing as the CEO and Chief Consultant of Pro Age Associates Limited, a leading HR and management services company providing services over more than 12 years now. This evening, we have three eminent panelists, not panelists, sorry. We have three eminent panelists, two from Bangladesh and one from abroad, to share their expert views on the subject. We are grateful to them for sparing their valuable time and joining us today. They are well known for their mammoth contribution in talent development. We are lucky their thoughts will be of immense value in reshaping contemporary e-learning platform and LMS. I will try to give you a brief introduction of the panelists. Even a few pages of CV wouldn't allow me to describe them, but let me try. Mr. Syed Tanvir Hussain, can you show your hand, please? Okay. He's a transformational HR leader with over 20 years of strategic and operational level experience. He's the Chief Human Resource Officer of Grameen Phone Limited. Mr. Hussain played an instrumental role on modernizing a fluid and responsive organization structure and building a future-ready, multi-skilled workforce. He has immense contribution in employee competence shaped program, which is popularly known as upskilling and reskilling program, if I am right to say that, to build across functions to stay relevant. He has built a culture of innovation, fostered data-driven decision-making, and brought efficiency. He's a champion in strengthening the baton of female leadership in the organization, where people are embracing a culture of winning together. Have I left anything out, Tanvir? You can help me. Will that do? Fine. We have Mr. Arif Shahriar. Shahriar, please. Okay, thank you. Currently Chief People and Culture Officer at Apex Footwear Limited. He has more than 32 years of work experience in the field of general management, human resource management, and manufacturing and supply chain management. He has key interests and skills in strategic HR, change management, and leadership development. He has been a part-time teaching faculty in MBA programs in IBF Dhaka University and other private universities like AIUB, Southeast University, and Canadian University of Bangladesh. Anything else would you like to add, Shahriar? Or you're okay with this? Thank you. We are fortunate enough to have the panelist from abroad, Ms. Ruchika Paul. She is working as Group Head Corporate HR with Apollo Tyres in Singapore. She is an experienced talent management and total rewards professional with a good understanding of the talent management landscape, Asia and Europe, South Asia, South Africa, Netherlands, UK, and Hungary. At Apollo Tyres, she acts as the HR business partner to all global corporate functions. In addition, she also provides advice and support to the HR business partners across all areas of talent, rewards, performance management, and global mobility. She has more than 17 years of practitioner experience with more than a decade with Mercer Consulting in the talent and total rewards space. In her last role with Mercer, she was the India practice leader for global mobility and the market leader of Bangladesh for Bangladesh. She has several publications, including Brink Asia, Forbes, The Economic Times, People Matters, and Worldwide ERC. Anything else would you like to add, Ruchika? You're okay with this? Thank you. So that's the panel that we have, 3 panelists. Let me share with you the ideas on how we will be carrying on today's webinar. After tuning up to the thoughts of the day, we will invite the panelists, one after another, to share their views on specific areas on e-learning as today's reality. Each panelist will have the virtual floor individually for 4 rounds of discussion, around 5 minutes at each round. Respected viewers are requested to put their comments or specific queries on any of the areas through comment box of their screens. In general, or answer from any panelist of choice. Depending on the time, we will request the panelists to answer those. So that's about the way that we are going to handle the day. We also have Mr. Rashedul Hasan, Senior Consultant of ProAge Associate Limited, who would be the thought provocateur, not in negative sense at all, who will share the thoughts of the day to tune up and incite the follow-up discussions. Mr. Hasan has 13 years of management, HR, and operational experience in FMCG, pharmaceutical, and consulting industry on building people strategy, partnering with businesses, transformation, automation projects, crisis management, and leading efficiency generating projects. He was the director, human resources and supply chain of Grameen, where he served in different capacity as HR business partner, sales automation and efficiency turnaround project leader, corporate crisis manager, supply chain, and acting GMD. He has different career stints with Square Pharmaceuticals, Julfer Pharmaceuticals, previous RAK Pharmaceuticals Limited of UAE. Now, let me invite Mr. Hasan to start with his thoughts of the day. He's going to tune us up to the thoughts. Rashedul, over to you.
Thank you, sir, for the introduction. So here I will take you through the provocation of the day, what we are going to say over here. And today, you know, the topic of the webinar is we're talking about e-learning, which is the new reality. So when we talk about the new reality, one thing came very differently to our minds, that it's about seeing things differently and seeing things versus what is our current reality today. And the new reality is a step forward to the new future, of course. It is about being curious, it is about being bold, what you can imagine, and it's about being resilient. And that's where actually we need the essence of the learning. So that's where it stands, and the world has started to change. It's already changes. The whole ecosystem of the world, because of the social network, the access to the technology, the people access to the cloud computing and the analytics. And on top of that, what has been added is now the COVID-19 situation. And what we are starting to say right now, that the post-COVID situation, the world is not going to be the same world again. So it's totally changed the way we communicate, the way we interact, the way we live, work, and of course, the way we learn. And everything, every area of these certain aspects has been impacted by this ecosystem. So now if you see what is happening in terms of the changing world of the work. So away from the traditional work, it has an impact also from the learning side as well. So from the traditional way of work, the big companies, the corporate, small and medium enterprise, startup, they started to move towards an open talent gig economy. Traditionally, they were habituate of managing their organization and business through a proper full-time staff-based organization, but now also the organization has started to change. And also this has rethink us to think a different way how the company access and engage their talent pool. Of course, from the people perspective, this is also important to prepare to and embrace this shift, that how the organization is going to cope up with this change. So, and here is, you see we try to get an excerpt from a study done by the Unili and the CHRO Global, which is the future of the workplace 2030 onwards, that clearly says the nature of the work will be defined by the personalized solution. A lot of the solution in aspects of human resource management, generally the business itself, is going to be changed in the way of a personalized solution. A lot of focus will be on the well-being of the people health, hygiene. A lot of cultural shift will be on inclusiveness, and the workplace learning will be highly impacted by the technology, and technology will augment actually the people and the organization alike to open up the pathway. So that is actually an engagement and experience towards leading a greater productivity, creativity, and innovation. So that's turned back to our initial points that the world is not going to be the same again. So what is the impact of all these changes in our learning way? A lot of impact, of course. If you like to see the business travel and the training because of the COVID-19 and of course the post-COVID-19 situation, the restriction over the business travel is going to stay. We don't expect that this is going to be fixed within a few days. The restriction will continue to stay, and people will continue to maintain their physical distance. So, and it is going to stay for a longer period of time than what we expect. And training investment will be surely impacted because the global business climate of the organization is not good. Business is impacted, so training budget will of course be shrink. And gig economy, as you see, that's opening up. So that is opening a new opportunity for work diversification, and also people will start to think about how they can upskill to stay afloat. And also green, this kind of green comes to mind, which is consistent also with the sustainable management, consistent with the United Nations goal of having the Millennium Development Goal. So green comes to my mind, which is a traditional learning. If we see, it consumes a lot of electricity because of the way we do our trainings and others, and also because of the stationary, it has impact on the nature. So there's a study that has been said that the e-learning actually that can consume 90% less power, and it's generate 85% less amount of carbon dioxide emission, the way if you want to do the same training in a very classical way. So that's also built up the new trend that the e-learning market size, which is today around $170 billion globally, is expected to grow in a very enormous way. And the study shows that in 2025, the total global e-learning market size is expected to grow around $300 billion US. So which is a quite enormous growth. So why we are considering, and how people see this e-learning versus traditional learning. E-learning is purely focused on personal growth and development, while traditional growth is not every time focused on this one, because when we sit down in front of the computer, our objective is clearly we want to learn something. And e-learning here offers flexibility in terms of time, in terms of its own pace, in terms of location. So that is actually a kind of relief from our routine life. Though it requires kind of investment on the quality tools, but e-learning is surely it's wallet friendly. In terms of costs, it has a much competitive advantage. We talk a lot about the distance learning, and finally with the emergence of the e-learning, it has a clear shift, which show it's contemporary, and there's a lot of variety of using the learning tool. Of course, this e-learning is time saving, which can of course generate more efficiency. And for tech savvy people, this kind of learning experience can be really an enjoyable one. So now, despite all the thing and despite knowing all the merits of e-learning, we are still having a long way to go to make this e-learning popular. But of course, the cost is the biggest point of attraction, because that can be really a wallet-friendly option versus a very classical learning where a lot of money need to spend for the travel cost, paying for the tickets, for the hotel, expensive venues, and the food and stationaries. And also, this e-learning open a new horizon, which is having a world-class education, very much accessible within even staying in the remote part of this country. We can get an American standard university course, even staying in a village of any of the third world. So which is, of course, a competitive advantage. And this is also opening a window in terms of inclusiveness for the diversity of the people, especially able people, the people those who cannot really move forward. That's easy for them to learn, even staying in their own workstation or home. And this kind of learning tool usually generates a lot of interest, because this is the making knowledge retention is very easy, because it's digital, it's easy to archive, it's easy to usable. So that is, of course, very much competitive advantage, which e-learning can really help. And at top of that, this is a reality. So this is a reality, and the post-COVID-19 situation will force us to come to this reality. And together, this is a different ballgame. We have to accept that e-learning exists, and organizations, a lot of investment on the people will come through on this certain channel. So if we see after all the global cases, what is happening in Bangladesh? Of course, this is trendy for the millennials and Gen Z. They're, of course, welcoming it because of the trend. And it has come as a kind of blessing in the face of the population pressure and the increasing city lifestyle and the remote reach itself. And it has been widely popular for both professional and academics because of the flexibility it offers, and of course because of the pandemic situation, especially for the academics. Lately we have seen they have no other option, just to, for the sake of continuation of their academic activity, they have to move. And the other side, the flip side of the coin, is challenges related to this e-learning. The network is always a big challenge. The strength doesn't allow, because for this kind of learning require a lot of content. Lots of them are video content, which require very good internet connection. That can be an issue like a country like Bangladesh, where the network strength is not same everywhere. And also we have to deal with something called the mindset, where we need to make investment on the quality material, because the quality material is very much important. Still, I think this is the area we are struggling, because lots of time we have seen there are a lot of effort, a lot of very appreciable initiative coming, but this kind of loss of quality in education can really infiltrate, and that's a realistic possibility. And of course, the previous point, what we mentioned about the popularity of this e-learning and this quick gain, that can be really taken advantage, or this can be a taking preference. If we think that the popularity and quick gain is a real preference over the quality and the retention, that can be issue. So the quality something in this e-learning we really need to address. So that was from my side about the provocation of the day. So I will take it to our panelists. So really take it forward on what we have discussed. Thank you.
We have heard from Mr. Hasan to start with his thoughts of the day. And thank you very much. Now we have set ourselves up for the first round of discussions. In the first round, the obvious question comes as to the future of learning and development and its benefits. So that's the area we'll be trying to focus during the first round. Our first panelist, Tanvir Hussain, to you. COVID-19 has put challenges on business context, with uncertainties and decreases in revenue as well as budget cuts. Where do we see the future of learning and development?
Shibly bhai, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum shobaike. It's an honor to share the stage with people like Shibly bhai, Arif Shahriar bhai, who was my boss at my previous organization, Ruchika, who is very much known to HR community in Bangladesh. Thanks for this topic. The way I see the future of L&D, or learning and development, in Bangladesh or globally, it's going to be more demanding. The way I see, the budget will have, or budget will be crunched. That means there will be budget cut, but the demand for training or learning will go up. Why I say that? Because now we are looking for employees with more than one skill set. If in the past we used to have one expert, now we want that expert to have multiple areas. There is a concept of go fluid or purple squirrel. That means resources should have more than one skill set so that the individual can be utilized in more than one or multiple domains. To have more skill set or to stay relevant, one needs to upskill and reskill. If one needs to upskill or reskill, that means he or she needs to go through learning and development. So the previous context of classroom training, where you may have to travel outside with all those hotels, airplane, then per diem, all these things, it used to cost a lot. But I see that now the e-learning is taking place in or replacing the typical classroom sessions. I see a lot of trainings are happening which are giving certification, and there are a lot of non-certification training as well, but you have to take tests or quizzes to get those completion certificate. So one is the certification that you are actually certified to be called as an expert in certain skill set. And there are other areas where you have to complete the training, and you can only do that while you pass those quizzes or tests. So companies like us and probably many other companies are focusing or shifting their L&D activities more towards e-learning modules. So I see a bright future on the e-learning modules. I see the L&D will be more AI driven. I see it will be more contextual or customized. So a lot of things will happen that we don't see it now. I remember I was asked to go and talk to a HR consultant event in Bangladesh 2 years. That was another L&D event, and they wanted my view. It was definitely way before COVID. And I said that companies like us, we are having budget cuts on L&D, but we are not taking our eyes off L&D. That means you have to come up with an alternate solution to train our employees. And your current business model is not a sustainable one, because that requires a lot of scale up, but you cannot do it. So the e-learning is the future. At that time, some of the participants or the audience were like a little bit of skeptic. Some understood, some saw the future in it. And now for COVID, I think most of us understand and realize what the future ahead of us. Shibly bhai, I think I've already exhausted my 5 minutes. I can talk on this for hours, but I don't want to, steal the thunder of Shahriar bhai and Ruchika. So let the other speaker also speak. Thank you.
We'll hear more from you, definitely, today and in the coming future, definitely. Tanvir, thank you very much for your enlightened views. Now to Arif Shahriar, although not widely, but distance and continual education have been in the practice for more than a decade now, both in academic and professional areas. Now, with the emergence of e-learning platforms over the last few years in a limited scale, how do you assess the viability and significance of e-learning in addressing the current situation, while spending for learning and development has started to be deprioritized? So what's your views?
Thank you, Shibly bhai. Thank you, audience. Seeing you after 2008, and with Tanvir is always good to be with Tanvir because it's old colleague. Shibly bhai is still my old colleagues in British American Tobacco. Since I was in manufacturing, he was in HR. Probably these are the people who actually inspired me to come to HR to widen my knowledge. I will start the answer to the question from taking clue from Tanvir. Tanvir said there are two important things he talked about it, is contemporary. Everything has to be contemporary. Today I was discussing with my team, HR team today on this e-learning. E-learning is a process, right? Irrespective of what has been happening in COVID situation, cost pressure on training and development has always been there and continue to be there. It is us how we actually approach our learning and development as a HR leadership team. Ensure that is not a tick the box exercise. It has to be a value for money. So therefore, whole concept comes as to me, I see this learning and development in terms of a blended learning approach. It has to be blended. We cannot write off the traditional orthodox way of training and development. We still cannot write off e-learning concept. We still cannot write off the on-the-job development, because if you look at your learning pie, still 70% comes from on the job, and learning and development on the job is actually 10 to 12%. And also self-enlightened driving for your own driving, you have to have that hunger to drive your own career through developing is also played a significant role. And therefore e-learning is an option that has been there for a long time. I still remember, Tanvir, you can remember that when we move into HR, I moved from production to HR in 2002 in BAT. We had this e-learning concept of OLT, which called Skillsoft, remember? And then when I discussed, we had a group of HR leadership team and learning and development team. Nestle has been there with e-learning concept from Switzerland model. Everybody has there. So that has been always there, a part of a approach. But still what I see that e-learning will play a very important role in the coming future, because it has got a cost implication. Also, it has got something like, you are not in the classroom. You go through a process, and as long as you enjoy it, you stop there, you bookmark, you start again, and the process has got a pre-assessment and post-assessment, and continue to learn. And there are platforms, many platforms that actually gives that. This also gives you opportunity to get access to the huge inventory of e-learning in terms of a lot of Harvards and all the good universities are there. So I think the future of e-learning is there. And I think that also helps, as we said, there are variety of tools are available, courses or contents are available. Only thing is that we should not get carried away of seeing all these things. You need to find out what is contemporary for me. I always say, learning and development doesn't come in isolation. It's all about your own aspiration. Where you want to go, where you want to see. Individual need to have that dream, and then you drive your own development. One should not wait till or what organization does it for me. It's also because it's my life. I should not like to be the passenger of my life. I would like to be the driving thing, holding the steering and steer and this e-learning will help you to take you to your dream places. And as Tanvir says, I also feel as I come to a new industry, from cigarette industry, which is FMCG, to a conglomerate, which is Raymond Group. Now being in the leather, I started seeing that it's not a footwear industry anymore. It's about lifestyle product. So therefore, we are looking at the channels. You see it at different channels. Traditionally, you do with on your own retail, orthodox channels, your own retail outlet. Your franchisee model comes in, which is basically a dealer model, exclusive dealer model, but it's a franchisee model. Then you have also a distribution model, wholesale model. But new area is coming in terms of e-commerce. Even the cows are selling in the e-commerce. Imagine. So therefore, the industry is going, organization is looking at different channels of revenue generation, because in order to sustain in the future in the business, you need to have your own, how, you want to see your business, whether you want to see in a narrow bandwidth or a broad bandwidth. And as organization grows, competition is intense. You need to have your own way of defining your domain. And once you started defining your domain, from for example, footwear to a lifestyle product, then a lot of other things. So therefore, you need people who has got imagination, who can see through, who has that strategic intent to move forward. So because I tell my people wherever I'm working, I said that life should not be constrained. When you do sales planning, we do unconstrained demand. I said also HR, you need to have these people with unconstrained mind, cannot be in a box. And therefore, innovation is very important element will play in the e-commerce, and e-commerce is a part of innovation. So I think there are opportunities. We need people with multi-skill, and basic things is no matter whatever skills you should, isn't on top. If you're the core skill that you require, if I'm in HR, I need to be very good at HR competency. If I'm in marketing, I need to be on top of it. On the longer term, individual must see that where he or she wants to go, and therefore acquire extra knowledge. These are the things that you will get through e-learning platforms. So I still think COVID or non-COVID, it doesn't matter, irrelevant. If we see as where we want to see ourselves in terms of next 3 to 5 years, and that should be our aspiration, and look for our opportunities. COVID will have a restriction, meeting people face to face, and these are the opportunities. E-learning was always there, and probably COVID situation has probably accelerated that thing. I think that's a good opportunity. Life we must see in terms of positive, optimistically, not pessimistically. Everything comes in our mind, we should see there is an opportunity, not there is a problem. So I see e-learning future as an optimistically, that it is a future, and technology will have a significant impact in our own personal growth in the career. So I think I have 5 minutes.
Yep. Thank you, Shahriar. You have enlightened us with a lot of ideas, which are very, very valuable for this session, definitely. To Ruchika Pal now. What are the significant challenges bringing on e-learning to replace traditional learning, especially in professional areas? How can the current global crisis be taken to deal with the undeniable challenges? What are your views?
First of all, thank you, Shibly for inviting me with this esteemed panel. I'm really humbled, and it's a great opportunity to connect back with my old associates and colleagues and friends from Bangladesh HR fraternity. So very happy and honored to be here. Thank you so much. What I would do is I'll really break the question in two parts. I think first part is really the second part of your question, which is looking at the current global crisis. And I'll also allude to two terms which are used by both my esteemed panelists. One is Shahriar Bhai spoke about multi-skilling, and Tanvir Bhai spoke about upskilling and reskilling. I think never before have these three words knocked on our doors as strongly as before. And this is exactly the time when these are no longer L&D portfolios or L&D needs, but these are essentially business needs and need of the hour. These are the three words which will really help organizations move from surviving to thriving. Because as soon as we are able to really get our people on multi-skilling, upskilling, and reskilling, we will really ensure that, our talent development is on the right strategy, and also really see that, how we are going to create that differentiation in the market that we operate in. I think what COVID has brought in is really what Winston Churchill said, never let a crisis go waste. And I think both my esteemed panelists also really alluded to this, saying, this is not a crisis, this is an opportunity. Shahriar Bhai rightly said, this is an opportunity for us to innovate. This is an opportunity for us to find, what can we make best out of the situation? And e-learning today is giving us that opportunity and knocking on our door to really make sure that we get the best buck out of our money that we are ready to spend on multiple platforms. And the good piece of this situation right now is that never before has the world together been in the same situation at the same time. You go back to any crisis, whether it was global financial crisis, never have we all been in the same boat together. And that is why there is a great deal of empathy, but at the same time, there's a great deal of appreciation of what any other organization is doing, any part of the world, because we're all in the same boat right now. Now, I would come to really the second point that you raised, Shibly, by saying that what are the significant challenges which e-learning is bringing, and what is it that we need to address? I think whether I talk of India or I talk of Bangladesh or I talk of a lot of countries, we have multi-generational workforce. And one of the big e-learning challenge will be how do we address this multi-generational workforce at the same time? Because the content that we are pushing out to our people is not one size fits all. But right now, much of the development content which is available to our people is one size fit all. Are we really getting different strokes for different folks? I don't think we don't have the luxury. Because today, e-learning is seen not as a learning tool, but in many organizations, an engagement tool. We are trying to see how can we, upskill, reskill them while also engaging with our people productively. The other significant challenge bringing on e-learning is finding the right partner. Shahriar by refer to Skillsoft. At Apollo Tyres also we are partnered with Skillsoft globally. And we are trying to say, and how do we really take that partner to a LMS level where not just their content is hosted, but even our content can get hosted? How do we make the best efficient way of really tracking utilization, tracking, the technology, etc.? That's another big challenge that we face when we look at e-learning. And the other part, which is most important, is, there is a lot of content that we want to curate for our people. Much of it is pretty dull, dull subject matter. How do we make it amazingly an e-learning content which is applicable to most of the audience across 4 generations, which is not an easy feat to achieve? And thus we need the right partners who will help us really curate content which can really feed into the technologically savvy as well as unsavvy people and help them really move into a sphere which is as easy as, I would say, maybe Facebook. How do we really make it that way? So I feel these are some of the significant challenges which are being brought in when we talk of e-learning. But again, it's a great opportunity coming at the same time while we're looking at balancing e-learning with the COVID situation and maximizing the spend that we have, because it is also an engagement tool, not just today a talent development tool.
Thank you, Ruchika. Thanks for your very enlightened ideas. Few things have come up through the last discussions. One is upskilling and multi-skilling. Then AI-driven L&D, great. Not being passenger of my life rather than in the driving seat. And multi-generation workforce. That's a very critical area. So all these things are very, very good takeaways, I believe, for all of us who are dealing with the, our learning things. So with that, we have just closed the first round. In the second round, our focus is in e-learning, there is a need for compensating the human connection, meaning there is direct contact and interactions between the participants. That's what I'm meaning. There's a need to increase popularity of e-learning for compensating as well as reinforcing this through virtual tools and mechanism for making the e-learning meaningful, interesting, and motivating. With this, to Tanvir now, e-learning requires a different level of human engagement and intention. Moreover, it is a big shift from traditional learning. The aspects of knowledge sharing remains the same. The total process of communication and learning tools change. In this context, how should people look at their competency requirements and mind frame to be engaging audiences?
Shibly bhai, I can share some of my real life experience. My first exposure to real e-learning that Shahriar bhai spoke maybe back in 2002. I was not a big fan of e-learning, and I found e-learning to be boring at one point in time. But in the last 3 to 4 years, what I have seen, there's a significant shift in the way the e-learning has been designed. So my first pleasantly surprising e-learning that I experienced was from INSEAD. It was designed for Telenor Grameen phone, and Nathan Farr was the instructor or the facilitator. He took us for about 4 weeks of total training, and every week we used to take at least few hours of e-learning. But what he had done is every single module, the video was not more than 3 to 5 minutes. Most video were 2 minutes, max 5 minutes. And the way he talked and the way the video was designed, he could actually capture our attention. And the way he was asking the questions, we had to go back and answer the questions before we could move to the next module. So the way it was engaging with the audience, almost like in real time, though we had the flexibility of watching at our own schedule, but we were hooked because it's easy to watch a video of 2 to 3 minutes without being distracting. If the video is 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then it may lose the attention of the audience. So first of all, you have to hold the audience attention. That means it has to be very short and crisp. And then you have to validate what you're saying the audience is learning with some quizzes. And then there are ways that they or the INSEAD, what they did or they asked us to do is form a group. So we also had e-learning study group, and there were group exercises. It's like almost facilitator led, and there were peer evaluation as well. So our group was evaluated by another peer group, and we evaluated somebody else's assignment. So it was 4 weeks totally e-learning based, and we never thought that we were like sitting and unable to communicate. Then we could also post our questions to the instructor, and the instructor used to answer or reply within 24 hours or 48 hours. That means all the questions were stored and he could see and then he could reply. So we know what it was. Then I can say that we have, during this COVID time, 4,000 classroom hours had been converted only from our company to e-learning. So all the training programs that we schedule for classroom, we asked the instructor to do those trainings maybe on a Zoom platform or on Teams platform. So it's a real-time training. The beauty of real-time training is, and e-learning is, you can scale up. And we had very good interaction with the instructor. So the instructor was also very inspiring, able to say what he was trying to say, and we were able to ask questions. So there are discipline required, that you don't talk everybody. If you want to talk, you raise hands. So there are certain discipline that you can do when you are actually going for a real-time learning. And if the video quality, and there are a lot of digital platforms now that actually help the audience to collaborate with each other. So the technology is kind of enabling us, and we are now getting used to in the e-learning. In my company, what I have seen, 47% of our employee base actually go through the e-learning with the smartphones, and 53% actually use tabs or laptop. So if you have a good smartphone, awesome. Now just know your audience, design the product the way you want to. If it is a real time, there are certain grammar that you should follow. If it is from the library, then you have to follow certain set of grammars that is not the same as the real time. Hold the audience's attention, stay relevant, don't drag, and be crisp. I think those are the fundamentals. If that can be done, then you have your audience ready, and I say LinkedIn, Coursera, Udacity, they have great courses. And you name it, they are there. And the panelist already spoke about AI. I know that some of the companies now actually thinking about e-learning the way Netflix think about their audience. That means if you create your profile, they will try to see how you will be trained most effectively. It is not one stroke for all folks, right? It doesn't work anymore. Some people are good in just listening to them. Some people are actually good when they are actually working in groups. Some people are good in taking quizzes or exams. So all your preferences are stored, and then they are assessed against the big data of the other profiles. And then they are kind of curating and push more contextual ways and specific for the individual. So that is also pretty neat. So the AI or machine learning are also helping us in developing the right tools, right courses for the diverse group of audience.
Thank you very much, Tanvir. I got so much, engrossed in your ideas that I forgot to, unmute my. Those are very much needed at this point in time about e-learning era. Very, very thoughtful ideas. Now, to Shahriar again, how to compensate human connection, networking, the learning benefits from overseas physical infrastructures, and interactions with multicultural people in these changed circumstances. How to compensate that?
Difficult question. There is nothing called net off or compensate each other. I think everything has a value. And I think how do we maximize its value? I still personally, I think there is a value of physical training program. Remember that in my personal experience, we used to have a program called Winning Our World Plus, WOW Plus. It's an engagement program with shop floor and management. Minimize the gap between the shop floor people and the management. So there is a program, you can call it an engagement program, but it's a 2-day sessions where you physically interact. There are programs there was a leadership program, Leadership for Growth. Faculty came from overseas. These are internal, even though you are physically out of your comfort zone and going somewhere. There is a value to it in the bus, in the dining hall, in the free time. That interaction, that network will not be there in e-learning, because there are certain things that while you interact, while you move, while you see, when you look right, when you look left, everywhere there is a learning. It's up to you. There's an information. You take this into your learning. I remember when we sent our BAT shop floor machine operators to training in Germany and in Italy. Now we have wear spectacle. Now this worker, they will travel. When they came back, you saw it change people because of the physical. It all starts from packing up your luggage to what you need, to then go to the immigration process, go to the check-in counter. You go to a transit airport. You see people all around you. You see different people, different race. You see shops. You see customer service. It's not the machine, that training that you are going to go. There is specific. In the process of reaching there, you have your own learning and development. And then you meet people. People get confident talking, which gate? That is the only thing that my worker works. Sir, what do we ask? How do I know which flight I'm going to go? I said that on the boarding card, look at that and ask. If you do not understand, ask this question: which gate? Flight number. So they used to talk like a telegram. One word, one word, one word. When they came back, they started talking about full sentence. They talk about friends. The friends, German friends, Italian friends. when these people comes back, they looks for this. These are the things that you learn, not only the content, very specific thing that you are set for the training is not there. There are enormous wealth of training and development comes in through the process. Yes, as I said in my first round, is all about your blended learning approach. So therefore, you will never replace that program, but that doesn't mean that all has to be like this in the past times. So it's a new normal, new things you will explore. Some people will struggle, people like us will struggle, who are at the declining life cycle, those in the emerging fast growth, they love that. But still, if you take a survey, people love to go abroad because there is a benefit. You see new people, you meet new culture, cross-cultural, even with that is missing. That will never replace by e-learning. In terms of content, probably you will be able to deliver better, more value for money, but that will not be there. So there is, I think it's all about how you look at where do you do the balance. If you cannot balance it, then it's a problem. Too much of this will like this, too much of that will be like this. How do you make an equilibrium? That is important. I think that is HR that we need to focus. Cost savings is very important. Whether somebody, I was looking at that Deepak Mia, name it Deepak Mia, audience was saying that, do you have a statistical measure of the retention of learning between e-learning and this? This is always a challenge. Retention of learning is not with HR. Retention learning is with people. Retention learning depends on whether individual has hunger here in your belly to grow. HR role is to make a balance and facilitate the process, as Tanvir says, individual need. A INSEAD program is a high fly program. In Apex, what we do it, I think that we have 250 retail outlets. Okay, I said you cannot meet everyone, so we actually focus our top 100. So I said that, okay, let's have a program. It's an engagement program, also learning and development program for our shop floor employees, on the store managers and his team. And I said the program name is your CPCO, Chief People and Culture Officer. CPCO and his team is at your service. And I start and finish with saluting my top 100 because they are the revenue generator. They are my success. And then I took that opportunity, engagement opportunity. I see a lot of small videos that, as Tanvir says, and motivate these people. You know, surprisingly, when I was having this meeting, my Chittagong East team was saying, "Sir, can we have ask you a question, ask a favor?" I said, "What?" Well, my people, after this COVID situation, they feel scared going home in the night. So can you have a special session? I can say that your CPCO is taking personal care of it. And we started doing that. And each of these engagement, we actually measure whether they like it so that we improve on that. That is also important for our side, that whether whatever we are saying, whether it is going into the people's hearts and minds and it is adding value. So this is also important. So yeah, connectivity with, I wish I can go and meet my store managers, top 100 store manager physically, and hug them, hold them, cheer them. That you cannot do in e-learning. You can talk many things, but that personal touch is not there. All right. So yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Shahriar, for your confession. Very good insight, and thank you, Deepak Mia, for asking a question, which actually excited Shahriar to come up with a lot of other ideas. We'll go to another question a little bit later, Rashid. Now, may I request Ruchika to talk now on a particular question, which is, will e-learning replace face-to-face learning anytime soon? What is your idea on that?
So I think the COVID situation, we clearly are in a zone where face-to-face learning is still a faraway cry. It's not going to come back very soon. But I'll take a cue from what Shahriar Bhai said, and which is very true, a relevant term called blended learning. As we will go into a post-COVID world, as we evolve and grow into it, blended learning will be a reality. And even when we think that, face-to-face learning, in my mind, face-to-face learning is also what Tanvir bhai said. A Zoom call is also face-to-face learning, where we can still evolve and interact. A Teams call is also face-to-face learning. And I'll talk about an example where under our own Apollo Virtual Academy, we introduced some sessions called Refresh at Apollo. We have a huge aerobics, operations and a huge apnea operations. We got leaders of multiple functions talk about the brands in Europe, brands in apnea, the manufacturing process, technical details about R&D, etc. And we called it Refresh at Apollo, saying a lot of time in a due course of time of our work, we don't get time to refresh ourselves about what different functions are doing. We recorded the sessions, we hosted it back on our platform via YouTube channel. Now, for me, that was a face-to-face session converted to e-learning. So I think those are the blended approach which will bring in efficiency, efficacy, and reality will be that, the world is waking up to the efficiency and convenience of e-learning. Will it replace face-to-face learning? I think no. It will not completely replace, but the two will coexist because both have their merits. There will be times when content will be delivered to an employee directly. There will also be a time when the employee will be taken to the content, which will be classroom based. And we will always have a blend of both. Like Shahriar rightly said, face-to-face learning has multiple advantages. When it's in-house, of course, there is engagement, there is camaraderie, you want, greater talking between leadership and opportunity to meet leaders. When it's external, I think face-to-face trainings help us also in really making it a practice sharing platform. I have myself been a trainer in Bangladesh with ProEdge, and I know how much excitement gets generated when you want to know what other companies are doing. So you don't really take that away by just pushing it on an e-learning platform. That is still required. I think a lot of group thinking and collective wisdom gets evolved when you have face-to-face learning. You cannot take that away with e-learning. And that also is a reality which is here to stay. So I would say a lot of things will continue. And like, again, I will go back to what Shahriar bhai said that, there is on-the-job training, there are virtual trainings, there will be classroom learnings, they will all coexist. Only our learning and development strategies will keep evolving as we decide what are the horizontals and verticals of the strategy, what will be the pillars of the strategy, and not one can replace the other because they will all coexist and we will only become smarter in our investments. And COVID has given us that opportunity to become smarter and closer to what employee wants.
Thank you, Ruchika. Thanks a lot. Rashid, can we take a question? We have a lot of questions around.
We have a lot of questions from the audience. We are going to take one from Mr. Sultanur Asif. How do the L&D experts gonna keep the e-learning engaging in absence of the direct interaction?
Anyone would like to answer this question?
So I can take a response to this. I think it's important for us to, while we are trying to push for e-learning and keeping our people engaged, as HR professionals or as L&D expert, we also need to monitor the efficiency and efficacy on a very regular basis. What happens in these platforms is that while we think we are doing some great programs and pushing the content to our people, we also need to see what is the acceptance level and make it a two-way traffic. I'll give you an example. When we run the Apollo Virtual Academy, we have two pillars. One is, of course, the Refresh at Apollo sessions where our own internal employee leaders Apollo leaders talk about their functions, what are the challenges, etc., which we call as webinars or at Refresh at Apollo. The other is a Skillsoft content where we push certain programs on a weekly basis, which could be on team management, people management, managing crisis, etc. Because we continuously monitor the acceptance of these programs, we realize our European audience is more accepting of the Skillsoft kind of programs, which are learn at your own pace. But when we look at an Asia audience, we saw that the audience were more accepting to the Refresh at Apollo Zoom programs where they had direct leadership content and connect. Now that really gave us insight to understand what's working, what's not working, and what more we want to do for what kind of audience. So I think the important thing is while we are focusing on e-learning, we should keep monitoring the key metrics which we think are the defining pillars and always keep dovetailing a strategy. Though it's only been 4 months to virtual reality or virtual programs for us, but we have really dovetailed a strategy of learning over these 4 months as well, pushing different content to our Europe employees versus what we are doing for Asia. So that's where I would suggest that's how you manage and monitor efficiency.
Thank you very much, Ruchika. There's a good question and answer also. Response has been very good. We in this round, the few points which came up, just I've noted those points. Wish we had more time to talk about those. The audience collaboration is very important. Hold the audience's attention, making it crisp, and at the same time, it's a big challenge to get them engaged in the whole training sessions. Use of AI to address the individualism is another area which is very interesting and coming up, I'm sure, quite soon. Then the question of equilibrium and the blended approach, which is very, very important. We have to think about not replacing one with another, but we have to have a blended approach, a equilibrium to that. Everything has got its own charm and attraction and value addition. So we have to keep those things in mind. Now, in the next round, the third round, we'll be talking about the quality of e-learning materials, which is very important. Fact remains, as I think, the flexibility of an online learning environment given to participants may be a detriment to their motivation towards completing their studies or that particular course. Facilitation mediated by computers can distract and alienate trainees if they are not motivated enough. So in this situation, quality and satisfaction matters, I believe. Quality of e-learning as a whole would improve quality, 2, usability, 3, service interaction, and 4, instructor interaction. So these are the 4 areas, I think. It's my thoughts anyway. And now to Tanvir Hussain. What could be the effective ways to evaluate participants in online learning environment? What measures should be there to ensure the authenticity of e-learning and credential?
Okay, I'm assuming this is for the local developed training, because the certification training that we have from the big companies and the big platforms, they have their own ways of doing it. The only way to actually assess whether the participants have learned or not is to test them. There is no other way. If you don't test them, just seeing or watching the video, you don't know whether they even have watched it. I have also experienced a few years back that employees did a lot of training, and what they have done is they have fast forwarded the video and they completed, and they got the completion certificate because even the tests were being shared by somebody else. If somebody wants to cheat or be too smart, they know some of the answers and they can actually go straight to the answer or Q&A, and they replied and they fast forward. Now, most platforms actually give us a report whether the video was played actually in the right speed or not. Now, we get reports from all those, and we can actually see whether they have been gone through the training or not. We have also experienced with high-speed internet, people have done opened up multiple windows in the same platform and finished 3 trainings, 4 trainings in a very short span of time. So these are the ways that they try to trick us. But we have also understood that there are ways and means to check. With all the intels and the way the cybersecurity now have been developed, these are no longer possible. We know. Now, it's very hard for employees or anybody who will actually go through the play the video, answer the questions, and not learning it. So make sure that you understand your audience. You also watertight some of the loopholes that people may take advantage of. Then when you have assignment, make sure that these are actually assessed by you or someone else objectively. Give them the feedback. Only then people take it seriously. I have also seen that employees appreciate when they get feedback. And there are, in the human psychology, there are three things that an individual think when they actually go to a training. First, in my own way, that I say there are like 3 H's. What are the 3 H's? The first H is head. That means you think with your brain that whether I need to learn this skill set, I need to know the knowledge, I need to participate. If it is matches, I'm interested. The second one is heart. Am I enjoying it? Is it inspiring? Is it easy? If it is too boring, I may lose attention and I will not do it. And the third one is, can I test my skill set? Can I do some hands-on practice? If I only like it, if I only see it's relevant, but if I don't get a chance to apply my knowledge, it becomes information. If I get a chance to apply my knowledge, then it converts into skill set. So when you send people in e-learning, this is an investment of individuals' time and companies' resources. Make sure that you also select the employee on the right career path, right skill set, so that they actually apply. And when they actually know that they will be applying this skill set, they will also be more serious. So it is not only 1 or 2 things that can assess whether the employees or the participants are learning. It is more about holistic ecosystem, multiple factors that needs to come into the right place to ensure that you are actually making sure or assuring that the employees are learning. So make sure that there are digital way of getting reports. So there is no cutting the corners. These are the right trainings. They actually go through the assessment and they are actually assessed. It is not that they just write a report and nobody sees it. So they need to also get the feedback. And then if there is a pass or a fail, and if they pass, definitely they will be happy to participate. So that's how I see it.
Thank you, Tanvir. Now, to Shahriar, in the current crisis, which is assumed to last for a longer time, especially the economic situation emerged due to this crisis pushed people to work from home, which has started to be viewed as a viable option for various categories of white-collar employees. What could be efficient combinations of e-learning tools in this WFH professional scenario? What do you think?
Why do you give me all these difficult questions? White collar.
Because
white collar.
You have a lot of ideas, you know.
What I see is working from home and working in your desk still doesn't differentiate whether you need a e-learning or not. I think there are a lot, as Tanvi says, there are, if you talk about white collars, is the senior people, okay, right? There are a lot of good e-learning program. Tanvi talked about INSEAD program. I know IIM Calcutta has a very good leadership program, strategic program that we did in Rahima Frost, very intensive. It's all about, first of all, as I said again and again, and Ruchika and Tanvir will agree with me, and they have somehow, they also say that we are all saying the same thing. You know, it's like appropriateness of the program is very important. Why we are doing it, for whom we are doing it, how this is going to benefit an individual. Is it in line with their career aspiration? Is it in line with their future growth? It is in line with their career movement. If that is blended together, then I think e-learning would be a good option, because at the end of the day, it all depends whether you are in charge of your development or not, whether you want to grow, that is important. Irrespective of, even with high quality, high cost IMD program in Switzerland, you send people sleeps in the program. I have seen senior people in DAT, people sleeps. It is on the time. When is the break? When in the evening time we have a cocktail party. That is the best time of the international programs. At the end of the day, I have seen people who coming back and convert that learning into their own domain, and also train people of their subordinates. There are people, because these are your hypo. These are the people who wants to grow. You see people. I would love to mention the name Tanvir. When Tanvir was a young entrepreneur, I remember Tanvir once time came to me. Shahriar bhai, no, Mahbub Mannan bhai said I am with training and development, and Imtiaz in IR. If you remember Tanvir, I said, to the learning and development, that you will not become head of HR. You need blended of all these things. And Tanvir actually, at some point of time, when I was in Australia, I came by, I saw him working under Khaled as a supply chain head. And he learned, and we never thought that this sophisticated guy can handle union, trade union handling. So he's all about, and because of these are the people, right people with right intervention, has taken this learning to their own personal development and realized that this is my growth box. And when people realize that, irrelevant it is, e-learning is irrelevant. Tanvir talked about it. Initially, he hated it. Now he loved it. It's all about the people who actually taking this seriously, part of their growth will grow. So it doesn't matter white collar job or it is a shop floor people. We have done e-learning with our shop floor employees, factory workers. My PC committee meeting is done online. And I, as a CPCO, joined the PC committee meeting. People talk about it. I feel good not being able to go there in the factory. And then I always take advantage of this e-meetings into a development or a mentoring session, coaching session. Each of my monthly meeting, weekly meeting has got a half an hour slot of discussing a case. I still have the book. I talked about good to great. I said that please build to last book, go and read this weekend. And this is the platform. And I talked about, I spent almost 2 hours on explaining last. What does last mean? It's sustain. What does sustain means? And then we talked about a lot of good other things, that HR business partner, what is your monthly today's production volume or your sales volume? What was your regional volume? And that should be where I expect my HR have the map of Bangladesh saying that these franchises, all the regions are there. Then your people will appreciate, okay, HR understand business. And when you know that there is a sales drop in a particular against a target, you ask them, how can I help you? You can learn, is this reason for any employee dissatisfaction, skill gap? So that's the way you relevant the business into your own core competency. And that's the way we link. I told people, because e-learning is something like that. It's not that e-learning. There are dots all over the places. What are the dots that you want to connect? Are you looking for a straight line? Then connect those lines into what forms a straight line. Are you trying to do a parabola? Are you looking at the e to the power 10 x ex logarithm curve? So rest dots become irrelevant. So your e-learning, learning and development are all those dots. You decide which are the dots that you need to connect because you feel what is relevance for you, and connect those dots. So I think under the current COVID situation, working from is a good opportunity to learn. This also give us a heads up that that's a cost. You don't need that space. You find we do retail classification. I learned from my trade marketing team. You classify retail 80-20. 20% your retail give you 80% your volume. So you cannot have programs for all people in same. 20% have a program, rest 80% have a program. So therefore, these are your talent classification is a process. You classify which are the roles that you can still do work from. This is the learning that we must take and put them in the working from for a permanent basis. then you save your Gulshan area, Bonani area, Baridhar area. The square feet cost high. So you need to, how do you reduce cost? These are the new way of reducing cost and also doing e-learning, e-office and all these things. But still you get.
Shahriar, you're distorted. Thank you very much, Shahriar. For some reason, you're not being heard, or you're hanging anyway. So thank you very much for your answer or responses to the question. Now to Ruchika. Maintaining the quality of training contents for hard and soft skills training is of utmost importance. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, there is a lack, a gap thereof, and it is undeniable. How can such challenges be addressed and minimized to establish and maintain an acceptable quality of e-learning? Did you hear? What was it?
So Shibly, I'd like to break this question into saying that, there are two parts to it. One is what an organization needs or expects from e-learning, whether it is hard or soft skills, etc. Organizations sometimes want to believe that everything that they want has to be curated or has to be specific or customized. But on the other hand, I think many organizations are looking at 2 to 3 strategies while building on content. They're either looking at buying content, looking at building it in-house, or even borrowing content. And all the academies or e-learning platforms which are available, I think there is a lot of borrowed content which is available, and the world is moving to that. You don't have to always buy the content and take the full cost on. You don't have to build the content in-house because you don't have the expertise. But a lot of content is available, and when we leverage the available content, then the quality is pretty much an acceptable quality of e-learning without really saying that I will either build it in-house. And I think today there are a lot of platforms that are available as aggregators of knowledge, learning content. They provide great analytics, LMS as a platform. They not just curate your own content, but also help you host some other good content for people. And I think that kind of a blend will really help us reach an acceptable quality of e-learning without really believing that everything has to be built on my systems and my platforms in-house, and really leveraging the expertise from outside is going to help us really leverage and look at the quality in a much better manner.
Thank you, Ruchika. Thanks for your response. Can you hear me, everybody? All right. So that's all about this round. Before we move to next round, Rashid, is there any question in hand which you'd like to?
Yes, there is a question. This is a question from one of our audience, Mr. Masood Mahmood. And this question is specifically to Sir Tanvir Hussain Bhai. So to address the need for engaging learners, introducing contextual learning, now it's time to launch learning experience platform rather only using the LMS. So he wants to know your view.
My view is, I think I have touched upon it a little bit earlier. A learning experience platform is the way forward. This is kind of like the Netflix of learning, or LND. So it will have all the relevant courses. It will take data from multiple other platforms as feeder. Then it will run its own algorithm with AI, and then it will actually give you the curated training advices or suggestions based on your persona, your priority, your specification, your preferences. And this is probably will be a little rare in the next 1 year, but I think by next 2 to 3 years, many companies will be able to afford this. So what happens is, like, when it first come out, everybody charges high. After that, it comes to reach to a scale, and then this becomes more widely available. So I see it is a very good future. I see it is going to be more cost-effective solution and most relevant. Shahriar bhai said one thing very important, that maybe there are generations who are thinking about can they adapt to the new world, new normal, new opportunities, new channels of learning. I say if you are young at heart, definitely there is a higher chance of adapting to the technology. I think the age is just a number. If you look into Shahriar bhai, who is senior to me, the way he has adapted and staying relevant in this era, that's highly commendable. So I take a lot of inspiration from people like Shahriar bhai. I see there is a hope, and the LXP will definitely be the future.
And thanks for explaining the law of diminishing return. Thank you very much, Tanvir. With that, we have now on the fourth round. Shortly or briefly, we'll talk about challenges of implementing e-learning. Okay, so to Tanvir now, when physical training is back in the post-COVID-19 world, where do you see the position of e-learning?
It's an, I think, easy answer, knowing what we know now. My previous speakers have said in the post-COVID scenario, all the learning channels or platforms will coexist, and the companies will invest smartly. So they will try to maximize the return of their investment. So there will be definitely some classroom trainings, but to get the scale at the most cost-effective manner, the e-learning will dominate. And the way I see, the shift will actually happen from this to that. And will it be equilibrium? I will not say whether it's an equilibrium or not, but it will be the optimized or maximization of the investment in terms of the return. And the individuals in the e-learning will have a lot of choices and the flexibility that they do not normally have in a classroom training. I cannot just send somebody to Switzerland to IMD just because he or she wants to. But same level of training in an e-learning platform I may have through LinkedIn. So if I want to democratize, or if I want to scale it up, spread around my team, then the e-learning is the only solution at the moment, be it real time or be it from the catalog. And the more exclusive the hypos are, or more specific, people will go to the classroom training based on the need, because the classroom training also has other benefits like socialization, networking, and learning through the journey that the e-learning may not be able to offer. So both platforms will exist. There will be a shift, and the company and the individuals will try to maximize their time, their investment, and their return. That's how I see it.
Thank you, Tanvir. Now, Shahriar, what are typical barriers for implementing e-learning for an organization, as per your views?
I think Shahriar is raised again.
Shahriar, you have to unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Before I answer this question, I would like, with your permission, I would like to show the one slide, because the barrier comes from the 4 type of people that you have in our organization. I just wanted to share, because this is what, when I was in Cadet College, one of our principal, he shows us in his leadership class. So let me see whether I can share the screen or not.
There is a share screen.
Yes, let me see. Can you see this?
Yes.
So the barriers comes from, or barrier, who are the people who creates barrier, or who are the people who actually, help you to remove the barriers. These are the 4 type people in your organization. So one of the things that says that He who knows not and knows not, he knows not. He's a fool, shun him. These are the people who will be the barrier for your e-learning. There are another group of people, he says, he who knows not and knows he knows not, he's simple, teach him. These are the people in the organization. They're very innocent, they are eager to learn. So these are not the people that will create problem for you. There are still people who can be helpful to e-learning. He who knows and knows not that he knows is asleep. Wake him. We need to wake him. And last group of people, these are the people that we need to find out. They are going to remove the barrier for you and also help you to inculcate the e-learning. Says that he who knows and knows that he knows, he is wise. Follow him. So as I said, there will be barriers. And one of the barriers these are mental barriers. When you drive a change, you will find these people. So there are the first group of people. I think these are the people we need to be very rude and very assertive, because these are the people is contagious. They are not going to help you. No, rest of the people is all about mind. It's all about motivating them. Each of the group has their own motivational tips that you need to find out. And I think one of the biggest barrier would be still that people still love to go out of their office, and that is the mindset that, and it is nothing wrong about it, but how you link that into your COVID situation is very important. I think lot of engagement, lot of talking, lot of way you need to explain people how this e-learning could create value for you. Is all about HR need to sell the value of learning and development, not the how part, but the value. What is that value for that individual is very important. That will be able to help you 80% to create the value. Other is also you need a top team support, and leaders must be lead by examples. Your line manager, your C-level of your head of the department, they must. One of the challenges, get their buy-in, make sure that they understand, they value it. Once they value it, when the leader goes, you become the role model, your follower will be there. Some people will enjoy by force, some people will enjoy of their own. But at the end of the day, it is all about whether you create that ambience of enjoyment. I think then the barrier will be over. I think there is no prescriptions of the shelf medicine, curable medicine. I think this require a lot of trial and error, but end of the day, motivation, engagement, understanding your client, giving your customer experience, HR customer experience, that is important in order to eliminate the barriers. And it will take time because it's a part of the change management, and change always comes from the top. And you need a senior team blessing.
Thank you, Shahriar.
Thank you.
We cannot hear you or see you. Thank you very much, and thanks for showing us the very insightful slide, which is as old as your credit college days and as fresh as COVID days. That carries the same principle and same learning and guidance. Thank you very much. So, Ruchika, with all the investments made in the technology and e-learning support, will the credentials or certification be valued in the same way as it is done for certificates obtained for trainings attended in physical center?
So I think given the way we are moving with e-learning, one reality which is coexisting is the fact that the organizations are really focusing on reskilling and upskilling. And if that's going to be reality of the times as we move ahead, everybody will really value certifications at the same time and credentials, because these are the credentials and certificates you will show as proof of the pudding of having completed these courses, of having the right skills to be able to do that change job, which is going to change its nature very quickly, or to look at, how you're going to add value to an organization and why you differentiate yourself from the other. And I'm not here talking of really soft skills, but I'm really talking of technical skills and job related skills, which will help organization really see the value you bring to the table after being evaluated, after upskilling, reskilling, etc. And to that extent, I think that the value of certifications and anything related to credentials will continue. Looking at the platforms that are available like Udemy, LinkedIn, Coursera, Edcast, both my panelists spoke about them. I think they are testing people for certain skills, giving them certificates. And those are, not to forget, global certifications. When you have global certifications and accreditations, you don't want to keep it in the closet and not talk about it, because that will really add value to your profile and your CV, not just at an organization level, but at a career level also. So I think they will continue to hold values how I see it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruchika. At this stage, can we take another question from the audience? Rashid? Rashid?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
There is a question
from Firoz Siddiq. You put that on the screen. The previous one.
Actually, it's not a question.
All right. All right. If not, I have another
question?
question in my hand. I got it directly. It's to anyone. Does e-learning open up the doors for everyone to improve, irrespective of the traditional selection process of who attends the training? Who is going to answer this?
If I understand the question, that whether the e-learning opens up the door for everyone,
And
I think, yeah. And the
irrespective
second
of
part
the
of the question,
traditional selection process of who should attend the training.
Right. I think knowledge is a right to all citizens. Knowledge is a right to all employees. In the past, due to our resource limitations, we used to prioritize. Now, if the e-learning, if we can actually accommodate more, and if we can accommodate all, definitely it will open up and people will have a fair chance to upskill, reskill, and stay relevant. And I will strongly encourage that culture should be in all companies if the resources are available. That's how I see it.
Okay. Thank you, Tanvir. Anyone would like to add to that, or you agree to this? All right. Yeah, Shahriar, go on.
Tanvir has covered.
All right. Okay. So thanks to all the panelists for your valuable thoughts this evening. We are sorry we could not attend all the questions from the respected viewers due to the time factor. I hope you would appreciate that. A few final words from my side. Having heard about the thoughts, just I'd like to add, if you allow me. I have just going through the, listening to the whole session today. One point has come up in my mind, a wake-up call for LMS developers. The course developers need to understand the different learning patterns of the trainees that are related to their characteristics and behaviors. I'm talking about millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha is coming up. So Tanvir, of course, talked about the AI during this part. So we have to be aware of that. 3 elements in the expectation components, such as self-directed learning, interaction quality between participants and peers, and course design quality can give positive effects on satisfaction towards e-learning, which is very much essential for getting the audience attracted all the time. E-readiness and preparedness of both organizations and participants are of utmost importance. Organizations need to be ready to adopt e-learning and benefit from its advantages. I believe the role of tutors or instructors, their expertise, their active participation, skills, support are very important. And course design, of course, It should be user-friendly, flexible, easy to use, updated, and relevant. So all these points are very, very important and can contribute a lot to participant satisfaction. We have covered this point. E-learning as a distant learning approach depends on the network connectivity and physical place to provide learning content, has its own disadvantages. Viewers, we are very much at the fag end of tonight's webinar. I am tempted to talk just a little bit about Pundit, if you allow me. This is an e-learning platform for professionals of all levels. We aimed to make our platform fully equipped with the required functionalities to cater to all the emerging needs that we have discussed today. We will have off-the-shelf courses for individual trainees. We can develop and upload mandatory courses for any particular organization and make it accessible, exclusive by its nominated employees. Independent and freelancing trainers can also develop and upload their courses through this platform. So all these functionalities will be there. I don't want to bore you with more details at this point in time. We are going to make it public after Eidul Adha. So keep an eye at our Facebook page, LinkedIn, and Twitter pages. Thanks once again, distinguished panelists and viewers, for joining us today. Hope you have enjoyed the webinar and could extract valuable inputs. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Eid Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum and good night.
Thank you, audience. Ruchika, we'll see you sometime in Bangladesh. Apollo Tire.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not in Rima.
Eid
You
Mubarak.
should come for Apollo Tires in Bangladesh. I'm there. Meet you again.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much
Eid
for
Mubarak.
having us. Eid Mubarak to all of you and audience. Stay safe. Protect yourself.
Stay safe with your family and don't go to the crowd without mask, social distancing, and all. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Stay safe,
Thank you.
all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.